Hello guys, I hope you're doing good. What's the story behind this video? A friend brought me these two plastic pieces and he wanted some replacements because the other set broke. So I designed these two parts in SOLIDWORKS. The one is the stationary part and the other slides over it. So I'm going to call them sliding bracket and slider. Pretty easy parts to make. I had to make some small changes in order to make them suitable for 3D printing, and I'm going to show you. So I hope you like and learn something from this video. So the first thing I'm going to do is start a center rectangle, a sketch in the top plane. I like center rectangles, especially if I start on the origin, because then I only have to add a few dimensions and the sketch is fully defined. It's very important to always try fully define your sketches, because you're going to have a lot of problems. Fully defining your sketches means that everything is constrained and pretty much nothing can go wrong. So I just add the dimensions. I like to use dimensions from line to line and not from point to point, because if you add a fillet, you might lose the dimension. Here I just do an extrude, and I could do all three parts, but I like better to do it like this. I will first do the two outer parts and then do the middle part. I don't like to have overlapping geometry. That's the reason I do it like this. Then I just extrude the middle part. Under selected contours, I will deselect sketch 1. I'll only have the region 1. Choose the appropriate length. And of course merge the result to make one solid body. I'll just add some circles to make the part similar to the original, so that it looks kind of like that. I like power trim. You just hold the mouse click and it's so fast if you take the time to learn it. Sometimes it might go wrong. You have to be careful about what you're cutting. The sketch was fully defined, and after cutting it, it went underdefined, so that is something you might want to take care of. You have to be very precise. Nice, so it fixed itself. Doesn't always happen. I didn't have to do an extrude or something like that. I think we're ready for the holes now. I will use some slots. So I will start a new sketch. I will do a slot. I will define the center to the origin with a horizontal dimension. Remember that the goal is to always fully define the sketches, so if you see blue lines, it's a bad thing. You have to see only black lines, which means they're fully defined. Some more dimensions here. Okay, so one important thing when adding dimensions, you usually measure from the edge of the slot if you have the physical part and use the digital calipers. You can hit shift while picking with the smart dimension tool to alter the point that it's the dimension is, or select the smart dimension like this, and then slide the point to where you want it. Sometimes it might be a bit frustrating, but it will eventually work. Then I'll use the offset to make the pocket wider. We actually need this because it has a recessed end at the bottom, which is not the best thing to do for 3D printing. I use some supports later at that point. So I'm going to extrude through all the inner curve. And then I'll do the recess. Okay, that looks good, but we might have a small problem. Forgot to mention, I usually like linear pattern as a feature more as opposed to the sketch. I think it's a bit more versatile and gives you more options. So I'll just use the pattern for that. I'll do 3 instances. I use measurements, and later I found out that that wasn't the best option because the center slot doesn't line up with the origin. So something must be wrong. Then I deleted some relations and moved my sketch to the origin, and then did again a pattern, but uh, one one instance at each direction. You have sometimes to think how the part was designed by the original design when you try to copy it. It was probably symmetric, so that's what I did, and it worked out eventually. Sometimes you really have to concentrate and read what the program is asking for. Sometimes if you're in a hurry, you end up doing more work than you would. Okay, so that looks nice. So of course then I measured the distance and compared it to the original part using my digital calipers. So the next step is to do the weight or material reduction holes. It's especially important if you want to reduce your print times. So first I tried to do it with slots. I didn't really like the result. I also tried the cavity tool. I didn't like it either. So I ended up doing some offset entities. Guess what? It didn't work. I didn't like it. So the next step was to make simple rectangulars and then just fill at the edges. It was simple and it worked great. Power trim, I love it. Then I just extrude and I chose to do up to surface. Okay, so that looks good, but I got some errors at first. And the important thing when SolidWorks gives you error is to really understand why that happens through all, of course, and then do again. We don't even need the section to see what's wrong. The two features are interfering, so that's an issue. I'm so glad that I have the dimensions, so I'm just going to change the dimensions a bit, and this will be fixed. You have to read very carefully what it says, or improvise. So here I did through all because I thought it was interfering with something. It took some time to understand, but then of course I tried different things. Okay, then I just add some fillets to make the slots more appealing. Then I did a section and saw that there was an area with very little material, so I added some more fillets to reinforce the part. And I think it will be fine like this. I did the mirror, and that's the part. I really liked it actually. Then I imported in Cura. It needed the rotation. We're going to need to use some supports, but that support came out really easily. So no problem about that. And the result was like a factory part. Great. You can't even tell it's 3D printed. Happy customer.